Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my part 2 of my interview with Eric Freeman Sims from the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. This is just a continuation of the first part of this conversation. So if you haven't watched or listened to part 1, go ahead and go back and do that now and come back here for part 2 when you're done. Did you do that? Okay, please enjoy part 2. So, how did it become that you wanted this to be your location for doing haunted events? That's right? I'm saying that right?
Yeah. I kind of the dream, especially for an investigator, been an investigator as long as I have, is kind of have your own location, do your own research, so you can investigate anytime. But also, the more time you spend there, you have personal experiences. And so, from day one, when we got the keys, we've been having experiences in the house. And the more they get comfortable with us, the bolder they're getting. The other day, I actually saw a woman out of the corner of my eye standing up on the staircase, kind of grabbing the railing, kind of looking over me. And so that's the boldest thing they've done so far. Well, unless you count the mist video, that was, I don't know if you've seen that video where the mist flies in front of the camera. I have cameras throughout the house that are motion sensor, and they alert me motion detection or sound detection, and they record. Well, I've got the video up of it's this mist, and this is upstairs in the guest suite in the middle of the day, 5:30 in the afternoon, sun shining bright. This has been 2 months ago. This happened. This white mist just goes across the camera. I mean, it's huge. It goes fills up the whole frame, and it looks like you can see down in the corner when you watch it. Because I had the camera on a dresser, it looks like feet walking at the bottom of the mist. Because you can see the corner of the dresser, and then the screen cuts off, but it looks like
That's
it's
crazy.
not just in front of the camera; it's in front of the whole dresser too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing we caught like I guess a month in having the cameras, 3 or 4 weeks of having the cameras there. Um, and then we've had knocking on doors. On Memorial Day, me and Roger were there. Me and my husband were there putting together beds, just the two of us, and we heard a lady say a full sentence in the parlor. Now we're downstairs on the ground floor in the bedroom, and the parlor is up set of stairs through a set of double doors, and it's a big area, so it's a little echoey, and it echoed, but we couldn't tell what she was saying. But she said 5 or 6 words, and Roger's like, "That had to come from outside." I'm like, "That was in the parlor, and that was a woman's voice. She was in the house. That was not outside." I'm like, "It would have been way more
Plus, you're
muffled."
like on quite a bit of land. Who was
Yeah,
outside that close?
right. Yeah, the front yard is like an acre, to the
Wow.
road. I mean, we're a good 100 feet or more off the street, so yeah. Um, but also the house is 3 foot thick brick. I mean, for this was a very loud voice. It was obviously in the house, and he finally
Yeah.
admitted, "Yeah, that sounded like it was in the house."
Oh,
He
I
just
love
didn't want to believe
it.
it.
Yeah.
But even my in-laws, they're helping us work on the house, and when my father-in-law was down in the cellar, there's a tunnel, 3 foot by 3 foot tunnel that goes across the house, with all like the plumbing and stuff running through it. And he was in that tunnel working on the plumbing, and he said he heard a man and a woman having a conversation in the basement, which is just right outside that tunnel and up the steps. And it's kind of open between the cellar and the basement right now. We have to build a wall and everything. But he said outside the tunnel there, he heard a man and a woman having a conversation, and it wasn't any of us. And he couldn't tell what they were saying, but he could distinctly hear a man and a woman talking.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, and I've heard that a few times. I've heard footsteps, many footsteps upstairs. I just put a video up the other day of a camera from the master bedroom. It sounds like there's nothing on the video end of it. It was sound detection. It sounds like somebody's moving furniture around and then walking away.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
but the
I love
camera is
how
but the camera
I'm
is
sorry.
on a mantle, on the fireplace mantle, so there's nothing behind it to be moved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like it's a wall right behind it. So
That is so neat. I love how
yeah,
when you're experiencing things and your brain immediately tells you what it was that you just heard,
yeah,
like specific footsteps in a specific area or a specific door opening, or like I love how your brain can hear it and then register it, and then you're like, wait a minute, that door isn't supposed to move, or there
yeah,
shouldn't be someone walking through there. Like I think that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. I probably spend more time in the house by myself than anybody else. or have, because I go up there throughout the week to do things, mow the yard, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I'm in the house a lot by myself, and it doesn't scare me. It's the most for everybody. Everybody said this who's been in the house, that's very welcoming feeling.
I like that.
Um, when I go in there, I can definitely feel them like on the periphery, like, ah, what are you doing today? Like
Yeah.
curiosity,
Yeah.
not wanting to scare anybody. And I think the previous owners, I don't think they wanted to scare them. I think they just wanted their attention.
Okay.
I don't think anything they ever did was to scare them.
So
The
did you get any stories from the previous owners?
his wife did not get to come with him from California to sign the papers. We were told that she had the majority of the experiences. We asked him, and he said, with a weird look on his face, that he had never had any experiences. I didn't believe him,
Okay.
but he
He
said, "But
was
my
worried you'd back
wife,
out.
yeah." But he's like, "But my wife had plenty of experiences." And then we've also talked to the neighbors, and the neighbors say that the wife told them about a lot of the experiences that she had. That she, like, almost on a weekly basis, she was having two or three
Okay.
things happen to her. It seems like there are at least two or three that are intelligent and very active when they want to be. The third night I ever spent in the house, I was asleep about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got woken up by what sounded like a door slamming. And I looked around because I thought maybe it was my buddy Austin going to the bathroom because he was in the room next to mine, and I thought maybe he shut the bathroom door too hard. And no, there's nobody in the bathroom. He's in the bed. It's just me and him in the house. And then I start hearing what sounds like moving around in that same master bedroom that the camera catches a sound that's similar. And I was just like, look, you had your chance. We investigated for like 5 hours last night. You could have done all this then if you wanted our attention. Don't wake me up. And
I
and
love
I'm
it.
just well, I'm not trying to sound like I have this big bravado or anything. I've just been
Mhm.
doing this for so long, and I've slept in different haunted locations, and I'm just matter of you had your chance. I just investigated this place for 8 hours. Why didn't you make all this
Where were
noise
you?
then?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, no, no. And so, yeah, so there's all, even my husband, he went to shut one of the doors because he was locking things up one night a couple weeks ago, and he shut this door that goes from the dining room into the new kitchen, and somebody knocked on it 3 times, and
Mm.
he opened the door because he thought he locked one of us in there,
Oh,
and but nobody in there. And when he looked out the window, me and my brother and my brother's wife were out on the front lawn, and we were the only
well,
four
okay
there.
then. That's
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
yeah,
So I have a question about that then.
yeah,
So the Warrens, anytime they would investigate a home, if someone said, "Oh, we heard 3 knocks," they would automatically and
yeah,
immediately say it's demonic. Of course,
yeah,
it's mocking
yeah.
the Holy Trinity, all that stuff. What's your opinion on the threes? Because it seems to be a common, activity that people report.
So I've even asked some of my religious friends, where does that say that in any religious text?
Hmm.
Nobody can show me where it says anything about that in Christianity, Catholicism, nothing. In any
Yep.
religious text, anything about three being a mocking of the Trinity, or the 666 being a mocking of the Trinity, and 3 knocks, and no, 3 scratches, all that crap. Nobody can.
Hmm.
I've asked on Facebook in groups. Nobody can answer my question because I've asked on posts, and not trying to be a jerk when people have posted, "Oh, I got scratched 3 times" or whatever. It's a demon, and I'll ask on a like serious question, like, where did you learn that?
Yeah,
If you actually
exactly.
got it from a religious text, please show me because I want to learn.
Hmm.
But as far as now, I've never learned where that came from,
Hmm.
and it may
Right.
originate with the Warrens. I don't know.
Exactly. Like I
I
have
don't. I don't
noticed a
know.
lot of stuff has become a trope because of people like the Warrens or the Warrens themselves that
Yeah.
have kind of perpetuated it over time. If enough people say this is happening and enough investigators say this is the cause, we suddenly have a reason, quote unquote, that
Yeah.
is for these things. But I get hung up on that a lot because no matter who you are, no matter the experiences you've had, the education you have, whatever, nobody has the answers to these things that are unexplainable.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you are, you cannot say definitely it's because of
Yeah.
this or definitely that means this. So I like talking about that with other people because, especially when you've experienced yourself. Like you
Right.
said, you don't feel like that house is evil,
No.
or you're not feeling any presence that would make you think that it was evil. So for 3 knocks to happen, I can't for the life of me figure out why it always has to be evil. I just don't understand
Well,
that.
and also the way that Roger described it, it was just like you or I come up and knocked on the door.
Like a
It
normal
wasn't
3
like,
knocks, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like
Absent-minded.
long drawn out knocks, like something creepy. It was just like you would knock on somebody's door 3
Mhm.
times.
Yeah,
And people just happen to do that because I don't know, 3 is a satisfying number to knock on a door. I don't know.
exactly. Mhm.
But if anybody in the audience, anybody watching this, if you can, like, prove me wrong
Mhm.
that this is just a
Yes.
trope that came from the Exorcist movie, or that's what come to mind when you were just talking about the Warrens and stuff, having all these tropes and stuff. I've never looked in to see if that may be something from the Exorcist, because like the
You're right.
Satanic
Yeah.
Panic in the 80s
Mhm.
came from the Exorcist in the 70s.
Mhm.
And a lot of the misnomers and crap about music and all this other stuff came from some of those horror movies about
Yep.
devils and demons and stuff, and it's nothing that's ever been has anything to do with religion. So if it didn't come from the Warrens, like I said, I'm not saying it did, and you don't know if it did or not.
Right.
Did it come from, like, even if it wasn't the movie The Exorcist, did it come from the book The Exorcist?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
is that
It
something one
seems
of the
you can
priests says,
always
or you know?
Yeah, and it seems you
Yeah,
can always track those things back if you have enough stuff to look into, like,
yeah,
and you brought up The Exorcist, that was one of Ed's, like, motivators, his
yeah,
inspiration. He really was into the book and then how it got turned into a movie and stuff. And I heard he also liked The Entity, which is another one of those. It tells a true ghost story, but it also is very scary, and it's very the ghost is evil, just like in The
yeah,
Exorcist. And it's almost like it was easier to perpetuate the evil of it because that was what was trending, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah,
So, yeah, and I
yeah.
feel like that needs to be steered away from a little bit.
And The Exorcist is one of those that they say was based on true events. Well, it's very loosely,
Yeah.
just like the Conjuring movie, loosely based on true events.
Mhm.
William Peter Blatty, who wrote the Exorcist book that the movie is based off of, he was in the 40s, 1940s, he's going to become a priest. And he was going through the priesthood. And he came in contact with the 2 priests, at least one of the priests who was older, who was part of the Doe case of the boy,
Mhm.
um, the real Exorcist case.
Right.
And that's where he got the inspiration for the Exorcist. But even though he's familiar with this priest and this boy's story, if you listen to the real story of what happened to the boy in real life, has nothing to do with what the Exorcist.
Yeah.
Nothing. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. The stories are completely different. Um, Completely different. But yeah, if somebody out there can point me in the right direction of where the mocking of the Trinity and all that came from, I'd appreciate it, and how it got translated into the what we do with ghosts and things, like,
Yeah.
because I've never had anybody to answer that. Like, even like I said, even my religious friends
Mhm.
can't point me towards like a certain scripture or something that says
Right.
that that's a mocking of the Trinity. I know, and I don't even understand. Like, I understand the 666 is a mocking of the Holy Trinity. I get where that comes from, but like with the 3 scratches and 3 and knocks, and how is
Mhm.
that is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
How is that a mocking? And where does it say that in some religious text, or is that just like we said, a trope because somebody said it one time and it's just
Yep.
become something people repeat?
Yeah, and it tends to fit agendas.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
very
like
easily. Yeah,
666. Yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
just like
yeah,
666, which I have a severe issue with because I just learned this myself recently, like less than a year ago. I saw someone reporting on this on TikTok, and I actually was watching a compilation of TikToks on YouTube, and they were showing different things that'll blow your mind kind of situation.
yeah.
Turns out the number 666 was actually a mistranslation, and they discovered this in the early 2000s, and nobody talks about it. They had lots of people look into it, lots of historians, lots of Bible experts, things like that,
Yeah.
people who are experts in translation, all of that. I read books on it and everything because once I heard it, I had to make sure it was
Yeah.
legitimate. And it turns out the number actually is 616. So if that's the case, and so many people agree that it is, like all these experts are agreeing that that's actually the number, every case, every
Yeah.
story, anything involving 666 is a lie.
Yeah. So all these people with 666 tattoos, well, guess what? You no longer have the mark of the beast because they were
Now you're
wrong.
just silly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
like people trying to say, oh, we saw the 666 mark. That means the demons were here, or the devil was here, or on the child, or like you hear like the omen. That was a really big
Yeah.
one for a child being marked, and the 666, and that's how you find out if he's a demon or not. And it's all wrong. And I find it really funny.
Yeah.
And I've never seen another podcast cover it. I have sent it out to several that cover things and have suggested it that it would be a good topic for them. I've just not seen it done yet, and I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna do it.
Do it. Do it.
I really want to
Yeah.
see the content out there where someone is addressing it, because the only thing I've seen is that one TikTok, like a 30-second TikTok
Yeah.
on a compilation of 30 other videos. So I just thought it was interesting. Nobody clung to it.
Yeah. 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 And then it's not, well, 666 sounds better. And like
It
you
does.
said, it's on all this stuff in pop culture and people have tattoos and like,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
it's connected to so many movies and stuff that, yeah, maybe they want to keep it hush.
Yep. And from living in this area that people are afraid of that number. And I've
Yeah.
worked in grocery stores in this area, and I have had totals come up to $6.66, and people panic and they're like, no, I need to buy something else, or no, take something off.
Yeah.
Like they
It's
cannot have that a number associated with them.
it's little fat Southern granny says, "Not today, Satan. Here, give me this
Exactly.
pack of gum." Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's why the candy's sitting there for you to grab and change your
Right,
total.
right.
I love that
Yeah,
so much.
yeah,
Okay, so I was really excited to hear about the story behind your haunted house, because you mentioned that you were going to be running it out as a haunted location, which I love.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
definitely going to sign up. So, can you do you have information ready for that? Or are you guys
yeah,
at that
yeah,
stage
yeah.
yet? Okay.
It's probably going to be a couple more weeks before the reservations actually open. I've been working on the web page. All I have to do is go live with it. Whenever we have the go ahead, we're going back and forth with the codes department right now, legally, to make sure that we can do what we want to do without getting the house rezoned.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different story. That's a pain in the ass, but we're very close to, and also we've had to get certain things done. Like I need a place to hang out separate from the
Mm-hmm.
house when people are investigating. So we're trying to get my office done, excuse me, before then as well. And it's almost done. We got drywall up, mud and tape and flooring, and we'll be good. But anyway, so a few more things we have to do before opening the house up. But I've been writing the rules and the waiver and all that stuff. But yeah, there'll be two price points. The dates that I'm going to open it up is every other Friday, Saturday, because I will be there the whole time, at your convenience, whatever you need, as a liaison. But I'll be out of people's way. And the first price point for local people, that's cheaper, is 7 to 3. So for a half night, you get 8 hours in the house for $500. And I mean, I'm going to provide, drinks and bottled water and coffee and snacks, and there'll be a fridge and a microwave at your disposal, free Wi-Fi, and all that type of stuff. Because I looked at locations that I had been to, and rented out for lots of money that have no perks whatsoever. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, if people are going to spend their hard-earned money to come to my house, I don't want them to be like, well, damn, I forgot to get drinks. Well, there's soft drinks in the fridge. There's a bottle of water. You can make coffee. Like, you have options. Or if somebody forgets to get snacks or something, oh, well, we got
Mm-hmm.
peanut butter crackers. We got snack. You know what I'm saying? Like different snacks and stuff.
I love
And
that. I'm big on snacks, so I would be
yeah.
thrilled.
Also, one of the things that I wanted to do was that the house is not a museum. It never will be. The furniture looks the part, but the furniture is all functional.
Okay.
Most of it. I think we have two things in the house that I'm going to ask people not to sit on just because they are old. But I didn't want it to be a bunch of antiques that if somebody breaks it, it's $1,000 to replace it. That's ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
our couch in the parlor looks like the chair you're sitting in, but it's a big couch. It cost me $40 at Goodwill, but it
Yeah,
looks
I
the
find them on
part.
Marketplace all the time because I flip
Yeah,
them. Those couches are
right.
amazing.
And so I wanted all that to be functional instead of people having to sit on the floor or have fold up chairs everywhere and that type of stuff. No, I don't want none of that stuff.
It
And then
kind of takes
also,
away from the ambiance of it.
yeah, yeah. And so just offer all these perks so people can just relax and have a good time. And also a base area and a charging station where you're not just here's plugs, plug your stuff in. No, I'll have power strips available and all that stuff, USB ports and things. Hold on a second.
No worries.
Dogs, man. 8 of them. Bella. She's the puppy. So they're barking to the Amazon guy. Anyway,
yeah,
so I want to do I want to do all these perks. No matter if you're doing the half night or you're going to do the full night. And the full night, so the half night's from 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. for $500. And then the full night is from 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. the next morning. And we have beds for people to sleep in. Included. All the linens will be clean, just like a hotel, like a bed and breakfast. We have 2 working bathrooms with working showers. So if you need to take a shower the next morning, if you want to take a shower before you leave or whatever, we'll have towels and things like that as well. And then we also will have a couple of camping cots. So if you want to be brave and sleep in the cellar by yourself, you can take a cot down there, or if you want to sleep in the attic by yourself, you can take a cot up there, or something like that. So, give people options to move around to, and sleep in different areas than just the bedroom areas that we have set up. But
that's really cool.
Yeah, and the only thing that we can't do is we can't serve food, because you have to have it's a whole nother process to get the health department in there. To inspect the kitchen once a month, and then you got to have firewalls and all this other stuff to have a professional kitchen, and it's just not feasible. You know what I'm saying? It's just not feasible. I would love to be able to cook breakfast, for the teams that stay overnight. That would be awesome, but yeah, no, I can't do that. So it's just way too many hoops to jump through. And then, like I said, you have to have inspections every month, and the bug man out because you got food everywhere all the time. Like I've worked in a restaurant. It's just a pain in the butt. So that we provide everything but food. So for $750 for a whole night. And
I love it.
Then you can have up to 8 people. So that makes
that's really cool. And the way you've described it sounds like it would be an experience in a haunted house, as in if you lived in one, because you can do normal things like take a shower, you have access to things, you can be in the house in a comfortable living situation versus like you said, being worried about breaking stuff or what you can and can't touch and stuff. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And like I said, I had somebody tell me well, 750 is expensive. Well, you're getting the entire house for 14 hours, right? And we're offering you to sleep there, shower, whatever. But you also got to understand the house, because they were saying for a house, that's a little expensive. Well, you have 3 acres as well. I mean, there's stuff that goes on the grounds because you had carriage houses and things like that on the grounds. And we have the only outbuilding that we still have is a underground cellar with a shed built above it. And it's 7 feet deep.
Oh, wow.
And it's stacked stone. And that's where one of the tunnels, we believe, comes out that went to either the summer kitchen or under the house. But not only do you have the house, which is massive, 5,000 square feet, 6 levels, you also have the grounds to investigate. And I've only been up there a handful of times at night, all night, where I'm sitting outside, but I've seen things up there. I've even had the cameras. We have cameras outside that the motion will go off and it'll detect motion. And I'll look on it and can't find any reason why it was set off. But with my own eyes, I've seen what looks like shadows of people back in the trees and things.
Mm-hmm.
The one night that I stayed up there, the first night I ever stayed up there, it was about 3 or 4 in the morning, and we'd been investigating a little bit. And I was sitting on the side porch, smoking a cigarette and looking back towards the woods. And it was dark all back there. And I saw what looked like a candle flame. Well, I guess it was twice as big as a candle flame. So maybe like a oil lantern. But it had a flame about this big, and it was orange and red, looked like fire, that went about 20 feet and then disappeared.
That's neat.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that before. That was interesting. But it went toward that building that I was talking about that has the cellar under it. The house already has a cellar that's massive. So why would you need to dig another one like 50 feet from the house?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's interesting. So we're
That
finding
is
stuff,
really
more and more stuff. I told my husband we have our own Oak Island because it's one big mystery.
Yeah.
And everywhere we dig, we find stuff. Whether it's China or different things. Like even in the basement, randomly, we found the old doorknobs that belong in the house, which I had
Oh
pictures
wow.
of that are beautiful from the 1850s, 1860s.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is
So
the basement a dirt floor or has it been finished?
it has been it's all concrete, and
Okay.
so is the cellar now. The previous owner, he had to fix the foundation a little bit, so he bricko blocked the cellar walls. They used to be just dirt walls, and he bricko blocked them up and poured concrete um, to help with the water problem as well. The
Okay. Very
groundwater
cool.
seeping in and stuff. And then, yeah, I don't know when the basement, because it did have old linoleum tile flooring on it at one time that you can see where the glue was on there. And the previous owner who owned it before us, he scraped all that up, from what I can see. So it's
Gotcha.
just all concrete. Yeah. But you still have the exposed half the wall up. It's still the exposed stack stone foundation all the
Hmm.
way around the basement. Um, so not only do I think like the Knight family and stuff were in there, but the basement was also used when the Confederates occupied Hopkinsville. There was a plague that went through them called the black
Wow.
pox pneumonia, black pox pneumonia. And doctors today still don't know what caused it, what virus or what caused it, but the pneumonia is what ended up killing them. But they would get these black blisters on their skin, and it killed 300 Confederate soldiers in Hopkinsville. And so
Wow.
they didn't have a formal hospital during the Civil War. They had like a doctor that would come to your house,
Hmm.
and so they used the Night House basement as one of the hospitals for these um,
Mm.
plagued soldiers.
So there is a lot of potential for haunted history in your house.
Yeah, and even on the grounds because Hopkinsville was occupied half a dozen times, 3 times by the Confederates, 3 times by the Union, and the Knight's property would have been the closest to downtown that they could all camp on, was
Hmm.
300 acres. So whenever it was occupied, more than likely you had hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers camping on that 300 acres. But you also probably had generals and the more important people staying in the Night House as guests.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if you look at like the map from 1878, you can see how close it is to downtown. So you would have had wounded men dying. They would have been doing amputations, setting up a field hospital while they
Yeah.
occupied the town and all that stuff. So there's no telling on the grounds as well of people that died that we don't know.
Right.
I
Yeah.
do believe that in one of the cemeteries in Hopkinsville, there's a mass grave with all those Confederate soldiers that died from that
That plague.
black pox pneumonia. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. I had not heard of that. I definitely want to look into that, which makes me think, I thought of this while you were talking about it. Are you going to provide the history of the home within the home?
Yeah.
Like I've been to a couple
Yeah.
locations where they got little booklets or stuff, like commercial locations, of course, not homes. But so I think that'd be really cool. So you're gonna have like some information on the home within it as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little packet, but for teams that want me to, for the first 20, 30 minutes, I'll take them around the house and give a history tour.
That's
Um,
awesome.
some teams, they don't like you to take up their time like that because they're paying for their time, and that'll
Mm-hmm.
be up to them. But otherwise,
So optional.
I'll have a packet with names, pertinent names and dates of the families and kind of the family tree. But yeah, I'll have pertinent dates and names and things and kind of a brief history of the house so that at least you know the names of people to ask for.
I like that.
Because we're not, I mean, at this point, it hasn't been investigated enough to know who's there and who's not. I mean, I believe I
Right.
know who's there just from my experiences, but I may be proven wrong as well. And so until we get teams in there, multiple teams in there with the same names over and over and things like that, then
Yeah.
that kind of solidifies the some of the haunting stuff to me and the
Yeah, for
names. So you
sure.
keep getting teams that have nothing to do with each other. They ain't talked, things like that. But
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna have a packet with some of that stuff in there. It'll have the Wi-Fi password and like some of that stuff in there too. But yeah, do the history, and then like I said, if the teams want me to, then I'll do a brief history tour. I'm going to show people around the house anyway. But if you want the
So they
history,
know
of
where
we're doing
everything
it,
is. Yeah.
because it is a maze of a house. You can even go look at my tour video that I put up where I toured the house on YouTube and on the website, and it's still confusing.
Oh,
It's still,
wow.
yeah, it's still
I can't wait to
confusing.
go look at it.
But yeah, it's on the website, and it's on the Unseen Paranormal Podcast YouTube. But I also put it on the Night House website, which is the Night House ky.com, and night is spelled KNIGHT. But
Okay, awesome. And I'll make sure I give all your links below too, so people can find them.
yeah, and we've been taking photos while we're restoring and cleaning the property up and stuff. And most of those
Oh,
are
I
on
love that.
Facebook. Yeah, most of those are on the Facebook page for the Night House. And I have some of the stuff. I need to add more to the website, but some of the stuff on the website, especially when we first got the house, you can see like the first pictures of what we had to fix between the vinyl siding and filling in this trench around the base of the house and all these other things. And then you can go look at the pictures that I just recently posted on Facebook and be like, wow, that's already made a huge
Oh, I
difference,
love that.
type of stuff. So, yeah. So, but yeah, eventually, like I don't want to just do, because I'm all about the history. I think with the paranormal stuff, with paranormal investigating, I'm probably 80% history and 20% paranormal when I go to a
Okay.
location.
Yeah.
Because I think that the paranormal investigating, especially at this point in my life, I don't have to prove anything to myself at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't really do private investigations anymore, unless somebody I know really needs help, or I usually steer them to
Yeah.
somebody else that can help them. But at this point in my life, I love diving into the history, and I think that the paranormal is a way to connect to that history in a very personal way and directly to those people. And
I
so that's
like
kind of
that. Yeah.
kind of my goal now. But with the house, the goal is not just the paranormal. That's to help pay the bills and the upkeep on the house. Eventually we want to do weddings and have photographers
Oh,
in,
yeah.
and even like, somebody wants to come film a movie or something, things like that, but to get the history out there. But also at least 2 days a month, we're going to do an open house for the general public, to come in for free, and I'll do history
Oh,
tours,
wow. I love
every
that.
hour.
I'll be up there
Yeah.
every time, just so you know.
Well, we learn stuff every week, so it'll probably change
That's
on a
so
regular
cool.
basis. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do them every hour and take, at least 10 or so people around and talk to them about the history. And but that's going to be free to the public, because so many people are interested in the house. It's the oldest structure in Christian County, Kentucky,
Wow.
and the oldest one in Hopkinsville, still standing. And it's like in the top 15 oldest houses and structures in Kentucky.
That is
So,
so neat.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love the history along, like anytime I go on any kind of paranormal or anything, I love the history. I like
Yeah.
knowing what led up to why it is the way it is now,
Yeah.
regardless of if it's a haunted place or not. It's more fun if it's haunted if you know the history, I think.
Right. Right. Yeah, and
And to speak on,
like
oh,
you
go
said,
ahead.
the history tells you why a place is haunted, or
Mhm,
how it could
exactly.
be. The
Or
reasoning
it
behind.
helps, yeah, it helps
Yeah.
compare
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
experiences.
Right. Right.
And to speak on your price point, I don't think that's too expensive at all. From what I've seen and the stuff I've heard, especially with the bigger names, and of course that's in our
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
realm of stuff right now is what's going on there. And I mean, so the Conjuring House specifically is 2 to 3 times more than what you're asking. They do 8 hours, and if you're
Yeah.
a normal person, it's like $950. If you're a content creator, it's $1,400. So like,
Yeah.
I think it's a fair price point, especially when you're giving amenities and allowing access to everything in the house, like you said. And also, I have a question. Are you going to try to monitor anybody's content? Because that's a big issue with the Conjuring House. They only
Yeah.
allow you to film for a couple hours and they have to approve your content.
No, I am not. I'm also not going to charge extra if you want to film or live stream. Um, because I look at it like, if you're filming or live streaming, you're advertising the house
That's what
for
I
free,
said.
right? I'm getting advertising for free, right? You're
Hmm.
paying me and then advertising my house, right? So it's a give and take thing. So why would I charge you more, especially if it's somebody like Sam and Colby that's going to get 1 million views? Why would I
Right.
charge them more? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm gonna give them a discount because
Yeah.
my house will
Please
still
come
be
to the house
blasted all over the
yeah.
internet. Yeah.
And the
So
more people you have catching stuff and showing it, the
yeah,
more people are going to want to come.
yeah. Now I don't want any like the fakers. No, I don't think some of the
Right.
Colby
Right.
are
Yeah.
faking stuff. I think they trump stuff up. But anyway, there are
Yeah.
fakers out there. But
Mhm.
but no, I also think a location like the Night House. I think I would like for people to get the history correct as far as we
Mhm.
know it, right?
Yep.
And just to honor the people who lived the history, especially names and things. Um, as far as people saying there's a demon in there, I don't care. It doesn't hurt the house whatsoever. It really doesn't. Now I
Mhm.
can see like Old South Pittsburgh Hospital or Harriman, someplace like that where there's still living people that have a connection to that place, of them having a video policy because they want them to get it right, right?
Right.
Because I think like Ronnie D, who owns those, has the video policy um, to be respectful still of the living who've had people die
Mhm.
at those hospitals, because those hospitals only closed in like the early 2000s. So there's
Right.
still people around that were born there. There's still people around who knew the doctors that work there who are dead now, the nurses who work there who have died now because they're older, or whatever, you know. So I could see a location like that wanting to make sure that people aren't coming in and saying there's demons there or skinwalkers
Right.
or portals, or because then I think it hurts the living family who's okay. My grandmother died in that hospital. I was born in that hospital.
Right.
There's no demons there, you
It's
know.
disrespectful. Yeah.
Yeah, and but a place like the Night House, I don't think there's anybody there. It's going to hurt anybody.
Mhm.
I also think it's very easy to say you're full of shit.
Right. Exactly. You can just
Yeah.
be like, yeah, you can say that all you want, but I own it. I've been there. I've never had
Um,
that.
I sleep on a regular basis. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also on my list of rules, the very first rule is there's nothing demonic or evil about this house. There are no demons or skinwalkers on the property, I promise.
I love that. So
So,
don't even try.
and that's up on the website. That'll be on the waiver that you sign. If you want to go that route and trump stuff up, whatever. It's your karma, not mine.
Yeah,
Like I
exactly.
said, as far as I'm concerned, it's not going to hurt the reputation of the Night House.
Mhm.
Um,
And if
so
people are
that
curious, they can ask you.
exactly. If you want to know the real history, guess what? I'm very accessible online through the website. There's a phone number there. You can call me. You know, you can message me on Facebook. I'm very accessible. Even through the podcast, I'm very accessible. You know, I'm not hiding from anybody. I'm not, you know.
Right.
And
No
so, yeah.
excuse not to
So,
get it right.
yeah. So I figured the people that really want to know the real hauntings and stuff, they're going to watch stuff like this and get it straight from me, who it's my house. I live there. Also, I'm not ever going to trump any claims up. The
Mhm.
videos that I put out, I just put out because I can't explain them,
Mhm.
you know. And if somebody can,
And you're not
please.
saying it is definitely this. You're saying I caught
No.
this. What could it be?
Yeah. 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 And so I don't know. Um, it's also one of those things of like when you see the videos and you go in the house and see where the cameras are at, you understand why there's no explanation, you know. And so
Mhm.
it's one of those things too. It's almost like a story in a way, you know. When you get the context of the house and you're familiar with the house, then you understand why that there's no explanation for those videos. But
Yeah.
I can't make anybody believe one way or the other either, and that's not my agenda. But I'll never
Mhm.
trump the house reputation up of like it's the most haunted. Like the Conjuring lady
Yeah,
said
I
the other
hated
day,
that.
it's the most haunted in the world. Well, that's highly debatable. There's a
That's
lot of places
title
that,
for like 300 other locations.
yeah, yeah, and I'll never claim anything like that, and I will never dramatize any. If teams do, it's not on me. You'll never hear me
Yeah, it's on
dramatize
them.
anything. This
Mhm.
happened. I had this happen to me. It's what happened. You know, I'm
Right.
not ever going to try to dramatize things to make the house seem like something it's not. The other
Right.
thing that I promise that I will never do is being the location owner of the Night House. That's all I'll ever be. It would never be about me. It will always be about the history and the house.
I
And I
like
think
that.
that's where a lot of locations go wrong. Like right now with the Conjuring House, it's more about the owner than it
Mhm.
is the house.
Yep.
And I don't want no part of that. I'm not a drama person to begin with, you know.
Mhm.
And like I said, we want to do other things other than the paranormal as well. You know, we want to be an event venue. to do different things, to do weddings and things like that. Um, and give people an affordable option for things like that as well. But also
Yeah,
be
I
an
like that.
affordable location for investigating and researching the paranormal.
I love it. And I love that you're being so transparent as well, because if I can sit here and ask you these questions, people can know that if they go to the house and they have an experience, they can trust that they can contact you and be like, this is
Yeah.
what happened. This is, can I get your opinion? Can I get your ideas? And then if you
Right.
have, say, another team come in and claim demonic activity and post it all over their social media and start saying it's demonic, you already have a track record of being able to tell people who have questions the truth. So if someone
Right.
sees
Right.
that and they're like, oh, I heard your place was demonic, is that true? You can be like, well, here's the history. Here's everything I know. I've never said
Right.
that. So take that as you will,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I like that because it feels like anytime someone is in the position to run something like this, the instant they have a money grabbing situation, like the Oceanborn Mary House, for instance, he started a rumor that there was gold buried on the property by this famous pirate that is an actual pirate in history that did have something to do with the real Oceanborn Mary. So he
Yeah.
took those little tiny facts and applied them to this rumor of there being gold buried on the property and exploited the shit out of it. Like,
Yeah.
told everybody, let people come and dig, like, even knowing it wasn't true, he was watching people dig on his property. And that
Right.
drives me crazy. Certain kinds of people seem to get this idea in their head that I can make money off this, I can make money
Yeah.
off that.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating in the paranormal because we already have enough issues trying to prove stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
the
No,
transparency is amazing.
and like I said, the paranormal is just a tool. For renting the house out to the paranormal teams is just a tool to help us with the house. Right.
No, that's respectable
Yeah.
considering that you're saying that versus perpetuating a fake ghost story.
Yeah. 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 And a lot of the ghost stories I'm telling you right now, I don't know. And that's why I'm excited to open it to the public, because then stories are going to come in, right, from people who actually experienced them, or their mother, or their, you know what I'm saying, a loved one told
Yeah,
them they had this happen in this house, type stuff.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, yeah, and I want to hear. And there's some folklore things surrounding the house that when I give tours, I've been kind of honing my tours with friends and family. Um, but when I give tours, there's some things that I will tell you. These are the folklore. Believe what you want, but this is the folklore of the house. This is the folklore of why the
Mhm.
house didn't have front steps for 50 years. And there's a folklore about it. Choose
That's
what you want to
cool.
believe.
See, I love that
Mhm.
you're also including that because you can have folklore that also supports your true history because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
folklore can have aspects to it that are explained in the real history.
Yeah.
So you understand where it came from.
Right. Right.
I really like that.
So yeah, it's just I don't know, open and honest, and like, you know, don't look, I will tell you, just like when I do public ghost hunts, just because I own the location doesn't mean you're gonna catch anything.
Mhm.
It's like any other location. I can't guarantee you that you're gonna get anything in the
Right.
house.
This isn't Ghost
I
Adventures.
can just tell you my experiences and the experiences of other people, right?
Yep.
That's what we have to go off of. That house is haunted, right? But I can't guarantee that you're going to catch anything,
Yeah.
and like I said, it's the same thing with the public ghost hunts. It's, you can sit around the dark for 5 hours and not get anything. Um,
I love that.
that's just part of, it's like fishing. That's just part of the paranormal. And
Right.
any serious investigator is going to understand that anyway.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think that needs to be one of the things we perpetuate more is
yeah,
that sometimes you don't catch stuff.
right,
It's not
right,
Ghost Adventures. It's not, the
yeah,
Conjuring House where you're doing a tour and something happened because they said it did. Like,
right,
I don't believe that people would be happier with faking if they knew. I feel like
yeah,
a person who is into the paranormal will walk into a location and prefer to get nothing versus getting something fake.
right, right. And I also think the majority of us are majorly into the history of these places too. And
Mhm.
that's a motivation for us to visit these places and say, hey, I got to spend the night in this place that normal people don't get to spend the night in, right?
Right.
As a paranormal person renting it out, I got to do this. I think that's one of the coolest things about being an investigator, is not just renting the places out, but there's been places that I have investigated that I've looked around and said, as doing like public investigations to help them out. So I'm not paying anything, but I'm also not making anything. But looking around saying, look where I'm at 3:00 in the morning in this old house. Nobody else gets to do things like this. And we get to go
Right.
places that other people don't get to go, like Brushy Mountain. I've been there twice. And if you're on the normal day tour, you don't get to go into the 3rd and 4th tiers. You don't get to go inside these other buildings. And then when you rent it out for the paranormal investigation, you can go anywhere you want.
Yep.
And experience different things that you don't get to experience, normal people. So I find the adventure of it a lot of fun too. That sometimes it's more the journey than it is the destination.
No, I agree.
And you have to enjoy the entire journey, and not be disappointed when you don't get any paranormal activity. But you have to look and say, look how cool this has been. Look how cool this house is that we got to experience. We might have only got one EVP or had a couple of personal experiences, or we heard footsteps, but look at this cool place that we got to experience and travel this neat town from Hopkinsville is an interesting town as well. You have the Hopkinsville Goblin back in the 40s. If nobody's ever heard of that, go look that up.
I don't think I've heard that. I'm going to look that up. That sounds cool.
These little green men attacked this family, and they shot at it for 4 or 5 hours before one of them snuck away and got the sheriffs to come out. That's the gist of it. But early in the day, they had seen a flying saucer too. But these were like country hillbilly folk that they wouldn't lie about something like that. And they also weren't stupid when it came to the woods. Anyway, it was home to Edgar Casey, who was a prophet and medical healer. He could go into trances and things. His home is now a museum.
I did not know that either. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's buried in Hopkinsville. So his one of the famous graves in Hopkinsville. But there's a whole Facebook page called Keep Hopkinsville Weird. Because it's just a weird town, but it's a very laid back, very nice town too. It's pretty good size, but it has like a small town feel. So the town is pretty cool as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But
and I love that you are most concerned about history. I did pay to go to the Conjuring House. I just did the day tour because I don't have that much money to just blow. But I did do the day tour, and I remember, I personally don't believe that there's anything that they say that is there. Like, I don't believe in the specific ghosts that they list on the tour, or the 7 dead soldiers in the wall that they still perpetuate. I don't believe that stuff. But I went into this tour with so much excitement. I was like a little kid. Like, my best friend and her son were with me, and they probably thought I was out of my mind. But I was so excited for the history, to be able to stand in that house, knowing all of its history, knowing everything it's been through, the fact that it was built so long ago and withstood like storms and life up there and nature up there. That's why I was excited. And the paranormal aspect would have been just extra. Like, if something did happen, it would have been just a little extra excitement. It did not take away from it that I didn't have a paranormal experience. And I did try. I did go in with an open mind. I stood in the spots that they said were hot spots. I went in the bathroom by myself because there's this, they say that if you go in the bathroom, something will jiggle the door handle. And I did that. And I made my friends stand watch to make sure no one tried to mess with me, kind of thing. And I didn't have a paranormal experience, but I was not disappointed. I was very thrilled to even have the chance to be in the house. And I was very grateful that it was affordable for me to be in there for that hour, because the history of it just made my skin tingle. I was so excited to know I was standing there myself.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that come to mind when you're talking is like the Conjuring House is a place that I would think when you go in there, it's not as big as you think it is. Because TV makes things look a lot bigger. When it comes to like spaces and things, you think, because they're shooting all these different rooms and they're cutting all over the place, and so it makes it look like this huge place when it's just a little bitty farmhouse has been added onto, and it's probably not that big.
And low ceilings, narrow staircases.
And I think the funny thing is, I was thinking the night house is the complete opposite. Pictures you don't understand the scale of this house in pictures. And I put one picture up, and I'll have to repost it, but it's me standing beside one of the columns, and I'm 6 foot tall, like 280 pounds. I'm a big guy, and it dwarfs me. and it can like bring scale to the house. And so it's one of those places that when people pull up, they're like, wow, I didn't expect it to be like this imposing and this big, and and so I think it has a wow factor like that as well at the Night House.
Yeah.
But I also think, like I said, everybody that's ever come in there, Roger's parents who aren't into the paranormal whatsoever, they don't watch they don't watch paranormal TV shows, nothing. They couldn't care less. They even both said, without me asking anything, man, this house just has like just a welcoming, homely vibe. Like we just feel so comfortable here.
I
And
love that.
yeah, and none of our friends and family that's come to the house has had any problems going in the attic by themselves, walking around by themselves, going to the bathroom, but like, none. Because just the feeling of comfort and like you feel like you're welcome.
I
It's
love that.
it's pretty crazy, yeah.
I am
And so,
so excited for you that you had this opportunity and you get to do this. I'm insanely jealous. It's a goal of mine as well. Even my boyfriend, I tell him all the time, and I've worn him down to the point where we'll do it in the future, he says. So he doesn't want it to be our first house, which is like you, it was
yeah,
your second purchase. So we've discussed it and decided, yeah, that'll be something we try to do too. So I love that
yeah,
for you. I'm so excited to see where it goes, and I'm going to share it everywhere.
yeah, yeah. And I want to do a bunch of stuff with the historical society. Already been working with them, and there's the Penny Round Museum in town that I wanted to get like maybe a night family exhibit or a night house exhibit with, because I have all those letters and things
Yeah.
to display. And so I told this story, and I'm like, I just want you to know that we look at this house like, yes, we own the house, but we don't own the history. We're not from here.
Mhm.
This is Hopkinsville history. This is not our history. We own the house. It's our property, but that's why I want to share the history with the community. And that's how it'll always be. I'm excited to have paranormal teams in, but you know what I'm really excited about? For all the people that I know in the paranormal to just see the house and for me to give you a tour.
I
Because
love
I've
that.
been talking about it for 3 months now and kind of hyping it up in a way. But yeah, just for everybody I know to come see it and let me take you through and talk about the history and things, and just see this amazing weird maze of a house that's just weirdly built and added onto, and but is just so welcoming and charming at the same time.
I love that. That's so cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you go soon. But before I do, is there anything else you want to share with the audience about you, your businesses, your podcast, anything else that you want people to know?
I don't think so. I mean, the podcast you can pretty much find anywhere, even on YouTube. I don't do video, but it's all audio, like old fashioned radio. But you can find it anywhere you find podcasts. It's on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, like I said, YouTube, Google Podcast, any podcatcher or music app. Strangely Haunted is, we really didn't talk about. That's kind of with my buddy Austin. That's our documentary side of things, and you can check out. We have two kind of short episodic videos up of two locations right now. We're working on a long form video from Brushy Mountain, and we caught some crazy stuff at Brushy Mountain that is unexplainable. There's something in there that I don't have a clue other than a ghost,
I
and
love that
I
response.
rarely would I ever say a ghost had to do that.
Mhm.
This is insane. So
I
I can't
love
wait
it
to
when
get
you
it
have
out.
a dumbfounded
Yeah,
catch.
yeah. Yeah, and it was one of those where the camera was pointed in the right direction at the right time, at the
I
exact
love
right
that.
time. Brushy Mountain is going to be a long form documentary, so probably over an hour, and we're probably going to put it out through Film Hub, so it'll be available like Tubi with commercials, Amazon Prime. You can probably rent it for $1.99, and that just helps us get more money, not for us to make money in our pockets, but to pay for equipment and to pay for us to go to other locations to film and to do more documentary stuff. But there are two episodes up there now that have over 30,000 views between two of them. So they kind of popped off, which was kind of cool. But that's Strangely Haunted on YouTube. And the Night House, like I said, is the nighthouseky.com, and night is spelled Knight. And we'll have the paranormal investigations up very, very soon. And you get to talk to me when you call and book your investigation. So
I love that. Well, I'm going to make sure I put all of those links. And
yeah,
when I do the video, you know how I like to do the little picture frame with the stuff in it. I'll make sure I get visuals for people so they
yeah,
know
yeah.
what they're looking for, because I love to do that. So yeah, I'll make sure I promote the crap out of that because I'm so excited for you. I think it's great. And thank you so very much for coming on my show and letting me interview you about what you do, because I aspire to be like you. You have
Thank you.
such a cool variety of things that you talk about, and I love the way you address things and your mindset of those things, and it's really inspiring for someone like me. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. It makes it comments like that's what makes it all worth it. It's pretty awesome.
Good. I'm so glad. I feel the same.
Yeah.
Anytime someone like gushes over my show, I'm like, oh my God, really?
Yeah. I'm a pretty humble person, so you're making me blush a little bit.
I love it. That makes me happy because I blush constantly.
Thank you again to Eric for coming on my show and having this chat with me, and for telling me about his podcast, his paranormal experiences, and his new endeavors with the Night House. And stay tuned for my adventures up at the Night House. I promise to document everything and share it all with you. Thanks again, Eric. Now, go check out the Unseen Paranormal Podcast and the NightHouseKY.com. Until next time.